What's good, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by DistroKid. They are the go-to for digital music distribution and the easiest way for musicians to get their music onto Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, and more. They offer unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of their earnings, getting your music onto platforms and into stores 10 to 20 times faster than any other distributor. They help with cover song clearance, automatic splits, and they offer all kinds of tools and templates to help you get the most visibility for your releases. I dig this company and appreciate their business model that offers more features and tools than any other distributor while doing it at the most affordable price for solo artists, bands, DJs, studio artists, and any other creators that are making music or producing music in their home, and they offer label services as well. They've got 3 different tiers that they offer to creators that start as low as $22.99 a year. That's just $1.92 a month. And even their top tier is only $7.50 per month. And the best part about DistroKid sponsoring the podcast is they are offering Dan Cable Presents listeners 30% off their first year of service with DistroKid, making their affordable prices even cheaper for you. I will put that discount link in the episode notes. It will also be in my Instagram bio. Big shout out to DistroKid for sponsoring this podcast for more than 3 years now. Much appreciated. Now let's get into the episode.
Looking down at the corner of the slow
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dan Cable Presents podcast. Thank you for tuning into the program once again. If this is your first time listening, thanks for checking out the show. You can find fresh episodes coming at you on Tuesdays, and if you want to help support this thing in a free way, you can do so by clicking subscribe on iTunes, clicking write a review, giving the podcast 5 stars if you feel like it is deserving of so, and that will help propel this thing into the tops of those iTunes charts, giving it more visibility on the national and international levels, helping strangers find the podcast. Just a great way to contribute to the growth and sustainability of this thing. Appreciate the hell out of all the folks that have already taken the time to do so. If you're not listening on Apple, just hit like, follow, subscribe, wherever you are listening from. You know, you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. You're listening, tell a friend. That's the best way. That's the best thing you can do for this show, is just tell somebody else about the thing. Hope everybody is doing well out there. I am in Spokane, Washington today. I'm sitting in the van, the tour van. I'm out on tour with La Luz right now. About 2 weeks into this thing, I'm starting to feel like a crazy person. We've had a lot of lot of long drives on this tour, 6 hours, 7 hours, and then we do the show. We're really out here doing the thing, but having a good time. It's been great to get acquainted with a whole new crew of people, and just to get to see some great music every single night. We've got Space Moth opening this tour. Miriam, who plays keys in La Luz, is the genius behind the Space Moth music, and it's just been a pleasure to get to watch both bands play every night. So good, just such great musicians. And we just finished up over at the King Giz and the Wizard Lizard Festival, Field of Vision. We just got back from that. I'm absolutely cooked from it. 3 days of Gizfest really got me. Tell you what, though, unreal festival. One of the coolest music festivals I have ever been to, and one of the coolest bands that I've gotten to see play like back-to-back nights like that. It was just unreal to see them playing in front of their crowd of people, and I just felt like we were at King Giz summer camp. They invited us to King Giz summer camp. It was the thing I had been looking forward to all summer, and it lived up to the hype and more. It was just an unreal experience. What an amazing band. They played a 3-hour set 3 nights in a row. I saw 2 of those sets, and just mind-blowing. I'd seen King Giz one other time about 10 years ago, and it was rad. It was in Portland at the Crystal Ballroom, but just nothing like seeing them in this incredible environment, Buena Vista, Colorado. they're just surrounded by the mountains and just great people out there, and just saw a bunch of other amazing music while I was out there. So shout out King Giz. Thank you for having us. Thank you for putting on one of the summer camps of a lifetime. I think that I will definitely be trying to go to Field of Vision next year if it's going on one way or the other, whether I'm working or I'm just attending. I would definitely go out to Colorado for that. So that is what is happening in my world. I'm in the tour van doing this introduction. I don't have my regular microphone, so it's if it sounds weird, that's why, because I'm just on one of these little mini mics doing the little thing. Great episode in store for you. Episode 478. Clara Baker is on the podcast. I had so much fun talking to Clara. She is an incredible music producer and musician and songwriter. We talk a lot in this episode just about her road towards getting into producing and engineering music. She's been focusing on writing a lot of music for TV as of late. We talk about some of her great placements, including the one that she got in Grey's Anatomy, just a legendary show. Claire's just kind of all the things. She's super talented, and she's very funny, and she's also very kind. And this was the first time that we got to hang out one-on-one. We've known each other a couple years through lots of mutual friends, and I've gotten to talk to her from time to time, maybe at gatherings, social gatherings, or at shows that we're both at. But this was our first hang, and I just had such a lovely time chatting with her. It was so much fun, and just to get to kind of hear about her journey into music, her entry point into it, to where she's at now, and the projects that she's working on is just really incredible and really inspiring. I feel grateful that we got to jump on the mics together. This was one that I had on my list. Clara Baker has been on that list of people I've been wanting to talk to for a while, and we had been, I let her know. I said, Clara, you have an open invite to doing this podcast, and we finally did it, and it was just really, really nice. So I'm excited to share it with you. Clara, look out for new music from Clara. It's coming at some point. I know she's working on a bunch of new music, and I'll put all the links in the episode notes so you can keep up with her. She has her Saint Somewhere project that we talk about, which is like music that she primarily is working on to kind of get placed in TV and film, and then she has music that is put out under her name, Clara Baker. And we're gonna kick things off with a track called Bittersweet, which is her most recent single that she put out sometime last year. And and then I'm gonna go back in the venue. I gotta go do merch counts and set up the merch table so I can go hustle some t-shirts and some records and whatnot. So appreciate you all. I really hope everybody's doing well out there. I hope you're having a great summer, and I hope that you enjoy episode 478 with Clara Baker. Links are going to be in the episode notes. Thank you for everybody that's been tuning in to these last few episodes. I just really have been feeling super great about these conversations as of late, including this one with Clara. I don't know what's been happening lately, but I've just been really loving the conversations that have been happening in the studio as of late. And I know I said that on the last episode, but it is just continuing to move forward. So this is it. We're kicking things off with Bittersweet from Clara Baker. Let's do the damn thing. Love you.
Does it feel like time is slipping so fast you're almost getting whiplash, trying to hold on? Do you wish you could rewind, fast forward, slow down, speed up time, capture every minute of your life? Of all the places I could go, I just wanna be in the moment. Don't wanna feel like
a red pillow, then I'll just put that behind me, get some lumbar support, and then no core strength required.
Yeah. Is it worse now?
No, it's better.
Hell yeah. Okay. Cool.
Hell yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, just it's been one of those weeks. Just kind of not go.
Go, go, go. What does go, go, go look like at this moment in your life?
Well, it's been great. I have sessions every day this week.
Okay.
So that's fun. And then other than that, then working on a couple co-writes with people, just finishing up a production and a co-write with this woman, Kelty, who lives in Nashville.
Okay.
And so we've been doing that remotely. And then last week started this co-write with my friend Tyler, who lives down in Eugene. We've been doing that remotely too. So trying to decide, you know, what I can get wrapped up with those, doing some mix revisions for people, and then also starting a new EP in sessions with someone this week.
Just trying to squeeze in your own music somewhere in
crazy.
there.
Yeah. What an idea.
Would you say that your main focus, or like largely what you do at this point, is producing and making music for TV and film, or at least making music to pitch to TV and film?
I'd say that like the biggest chunk of work I'm doing right now is with artists. So not necessarily for TV and film, but probably maybe like 70% of what I'm doing is working with independent singer-songwriters, artists, mostly in Portland.
Okay.
On their own music, their own EPs, records, singles, etc. And then probably 70 to 20 is probably doing stuff for TV and film. I'm hoping to get that more balanced. And then probably 10% is just my own art, just for art's sake.
Yeah. I would imagine it's been like important to find time for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where it all started.
Yeah.
It started at 100% that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, tell me like where it really all started. Like what are like your early memories of music, or in like what was the vibe growing up? Like did that happen around here?
Oh yeah. Right? Yeah, I grew up in Northeast Portland. So
okay.
I mean, not too far from here.
Portland, born and raised. Doesn't happen very often here.
NEP.
You live here.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up here in Portland. My whole family's musical. So I started taking fiddle lessons when I was like maybe about 4 or 5.
So just lots of instruments lying around the house?
Mm-hmm. My dad plays fiddle. I'm a 4th generation fiddle player. My grandma played as well. And then
wow.
I think my great uncle. So it's been going on a long time, violin, fiddle in my family.
Were they like actively playing out and about when you were a kid, or was it just more something that was around the house? And
it's just like been passed down. My dad was my parents met when my dad was in a bluegrass band back in the day.
Nice.
I think in the 80s.
Okay.
So they met when I think he was playing a show with his bluegrass band Gold Rush. And classic. So he's a fiddle player in that band. That's not around anymore, but so he was always playing. And so my mom loved singing, and she, you know, had somewhat of a musical family. My grandma on her side sang as well, had a beautiful voice. So it was just something like always happening in the house. I was just saying to a friend the other day, like how patient my mom was, because me, my dad, and my brother all play fiddle. So there'd be days where all 3 of us would be practicing fiddle, playing different songs in different rooms of the house at the same time. And I feel like it's not a great instrument when you're just learning, you know, to have people hearing you. It's pretty squeaky.
Yeah.
So the patience that she had to be hearing, you know, 3 different people playing at the same time, different songs, kind of in surround sound in the house was. But she had a vision of, you know, and she stuck with it, of raising a musical family. So my brother still plays. He lives in New Orleans, and he plays fiddle and a bunch of different projects, and mandolin and stuff too. And then my dad plays fiddle and bass and some other instruments, and he plays all over town. I'm constantly meeting people who are like, oh yeah, I know your dad. I met your dad at a jam. Who are like,
so
people
he's like
my
actively doing this.
Oh yeah, my dad is out in the town on, you know, in all the jams and the bluegrass scene.
Very cool.
So yeah.
So what was the learning curve like for you picking up the fiddle at such an early age? Like, were you young enough where you didn't like view it as something like that difficult, or like did you feel like you had some natural inclinations towards the instrument?
It's such. I mean, do you play any string instruments like that?
I just play like guitar, like a very basic level, you know, not on any great level. So no.
Well, I think the hard thing about an instrument like violin, fiddle, you know, cello, things like that is there's no frets. So you have to get the intonation just right. So you have to kind of memorize your finger spacing of where the notes are and get good intonation that way. So I think it's one of the harder instruments to learn. Yeah. So for me, I feel like I'm always learning how to play and I'm always getting better. And so we actually grew up doing competitive fiddle. So there's a whole that got your attention.
Yeah.
There's a whole
cue up the YouTube videos.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh. There's a whole world of fiddle contests, and it's like Texas style old time. And yeah, the national fiddlers competitions in Weiser, Idaho. So every year my family we'd like rent an RV or we'd pack up the minivan and pack tents and we'd go camp out, and we'd go, like, the place where it was at an old high school or something in Weiser, Idaho, random.
Don't know where it's at.
Come on, it's iconic. So we would just, you know, camp out for the week and we would compete. And
what does competition look like?
Glad you asked, Dan. So basically you memorize 3 songs, tunes, and then you stand up on stage and then you have like a couple people playing guitar backup with you. And you have to have a hoedown, a waltz, and a tune of choice.
Okay.
And there's this whole, you know, subculture of this world of fiddle contests and what kind of tunes and that have been passed down over the years that like are appropriate to play for each of those categories. You can't just like play, you know, a cover of a pop song that's a waltz or something like that. It has to be in this specific kind of genre. And then you get judged, and the judges, I believe, at least at the national one, can't see you. It's all like blind judging. They're just listening. So yeah, you would just go up there in this like giant auditorium, and it was broken down by age category. And then there was one category that was like open division, I think. And that was for just anyone could compete, but that was like at the highest levels kind of. So I was in the like small fry and peewee division as a little kid, and maybe moved up to junior or junior. But I think something that was really great about that is that you're working towards a goal, which is really learning, memorizing, nailing your 3 tunes that you're going to do. But something that's also hard about that is you're getting, you know, judged and scored. And so then it's sort of setting up music as something that you're competing in. So there was like positives and negatives with that. I didn't stick with the fiddle competitions long enough to, you know, really excel in the ranks of that. But it was great learning by ear versus like I didn't learn, you know, reading notes on a staff. I later on in life in middle school, took piano lessons and then learned to read music that way, and then was in choir in high school and took classical voice lessons in college. So I've had like different parts of the musical education as well as that, but learning music by ear was something that was part of that fiddle tradition, and I'm just like so grateful for that because it's just helped me so much. Right now it's like if I'm in the studio with an artist, like I'll play violin or fiddle on people's songs all the time when I'm working with songwriters. And so even just yesterday at the session, I had a couple ideas. I'm just trying them out, and then I said to the artist, well, because it seemed like they had some ideas, I was like, if you can sing it, I can play it, you know. So if they're just like do 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 do, you know, I can just play that if you sing it.
That's awesome.
But if you wrote it down on a page, it'd take me a few minutes to figure it out.
So that's still like your stronger suit is just playing by ear.
Yeah, but that lends itself well to, you know, playing live with people and improvising, and also to, you know, coming up with stuff in studios. So
yeah, also, I mean, I'm assuming that you're working with a lot of different musicians that like maybe don't read music or transcribe things in that way, that like you kind of need to be able to do it by ear.
And people aren't often coming in with charts. You know, it's usually just like a voice memo or a, you know, demo, something like that, and then just kind of playing it live, and we figure it out from there.
So even the song that you would get to like do of choice in those competitions, Like you can like pick a pop song for
No.
that.
It was like a rag or something.
Okay,
It was like
all right.
it's in the genre. It's in the it's in that world. But a tune of choice, you may hear that as a tune of your choice, but like tune of choice is sort of its own category.
Okay. All right.
With its own limitations.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's like I still know those songs by muscle memory. So it's like every now and again I'll just like pull out the fiddle and I'll just like play my contest set, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just like it all comes back, you know. And some of them have these kind of show-offy moves in it because it's a contest and you're trying to get points and stuff, you know. So it's funny. But
Did you have to force yourself to practice as a kid, or did you find yourself kind of naturally gravitating towards wanting to play music?
I mean, I liked making things, I liked creating, but I didn't want to practice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was like a hard thing, especially with when your parents are paying for lessons, you know, there's this expectation that you're going to practice. So we, you know, kind of had a love-hate relationship with the kitchen timer, you know, it was like one of those like white plastic one that was like shaped like a chicken or something, you know, and it's like, you know, my mom sets it for 30 minutes and she can hear it if it stops clicking, if you're going to like cheat and try to, you know, turn it down. But, yeah, I didn't really like practicing, but then I begged them for piano lessons after fiddle. So then I took piano lessons, and for some reason was like with this pretty intense teacher where we also had to do kind of like adjudication things where we would get adjudicated or like tested on stuff. So it was like I kept doing these like really, I never just like found a lane with like a teacher to just like learn songs in a kind of like a chill way. But at the same time, that was helpful. I learned a ton of theory with her, but I just didn't like practicing. So it wasn't until I got to high school where I started really, I mean, I loved singing. So I tried out for the choir at my high school, the like most advanced choir, but I didn't tell anyone in my family that I was trying out. I was like, I'm just going to try out. If I don't get in, I don't have to tell anyone. And if I get in, they'll just be like surprised, you know? So I got in. And then...
Hey, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Still riding that high. Royal Blues, shout out. The real ones know. So then in high school, you know, I loved singing, and that's when I started to kind of get into songwriting. And there was one like pivotal road trip that I went on with my mom. We went to go tour colleges in the Midwest, and I only brought 5 CDs with me. And this was, you know, before Bluetooth and all that. Yeah. So I brought the 4 Dixie Chicks, Now the Chicks albums, and then a mix CD for my crush.
You brought 4 Dixie Chicks albums?
Yeah, that's the 4 that they had at the time.
4 out of 5 were Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, it was their entire discography, and then a mix that my crush made me.
Yeah.
So that was all we listened to for like a week driving around colleges in the Midwest. And then because I had the albums with me, I was like looking in the, you know, the CD jackets. Yeah. And then I realized that they hadn't written most of their songs, like up until their last album, I think Not Ready to Make Nice, like up until the album with that on it, most of they were cutting songs written by other songwriters. I didn't know anything about that. So then I started looking who the songwriters were, and I saw like Patty Griffin. And so then I looked at Patty Griffin, and then I got really into her music. And then because of her, I started getting into drop D tuning on guitar. And like, I just wanted to learn how to play guitar because I wanted to learn how to play all the songs by the Chicks because I loved singing, you know, in the car. So then I picked up guitar, and I just kind of taught myself guitar in high school. And that was the thing where it was like, okay, my parents just had some guitars lying around the house. I didn't ask for lessons. And so that was my like thing where it came purely from within me, was that I wanted to get better at guitar. So I would just like stay up late. Instead of doing my homework, I'd practice acoustic guitar.
Okay.
You know, and was like watching YouTube tutorials and stuff. Cause like by that time those were starting to come out in like 2009 or so. So I got really into that. And then that was like, because that came from this place in me, no one else was saying you have to practice, you know, or anything like that. Then I really loved it. And I just saved up enough money when I, you know, graduated high school, got some, you know, cash from family or whatever. And saved up money from working and bought myself a Martin guitar that I still have and still play. And
hell yeah.
Then that was kind of like the catalyst for writing more songs and doing my original music from there.
Also, you can make some banging cover of some Wide Open Spaces.
I mean, yes. I mean, give me a campfire. Let's go.
But that was like, do you feel like that was kind of the first time you were making music or like dedicating time to music, then not with like some goal that you had to like pass some test or like some competitive nature to it?
Then. Yeah. And it was really this thing that became this outlet for me for self-expression. And it was like, you're in high school or even in college, I started writing so much more. And it's, all these life changes and intense experiences, and you're striking out on your own and all these things. And so it was a place for me to like write down all my feelings. And I've often felt with songwriting, when I'm writing from that personal place, I can end up writing something that I don't even know that I think or feel yet. But then like through writing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm really feeling this way, or I need to address this, or, X, Y, or Z. It's kind of like when you can open up that faucet and allow the truth to come out, you can surprise yourself.
Do you have any idea what allows you to do that through songwriting?
It's interesting now, especially because I'm, doing this other type of songwriting too, of like writing for other artists or writing for film and TV. It's kind of it comes from like a different part of your brain, or co-writing. But I think what I can come back time and time again is like, if I just give myself time to just sit down with my guitar and just put, turn my voice memos on to recording, but just like put it away from me and just like not have any ideas. If I just like, it's like journaling almost, but with my guitar, and I'm just like stream of consciousness. That's what allows that to come out.
Yeah. But
it's hard more and more now to like create time and space for that type of writing to happen, because I have so many other things going on. But every time that I do it, I'm like, okay, it's still there. Like I can still turn that switch on.
Yeah. You're just like spending time with yourself.
Exactly.
And figuring out what is actually going on with you in some way.
Yeah.
It's interesting that stuff seems to like reveal things about yourself that like you maybe don't realize until you're saying words out loud, and it's just like, oh shit, I'm like really going through it with this thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm always surprised by, what's maybe coming to the top, to the surface.
Yeah. So prior to 2019 and you putting out that Things to Burn record, was there much like self-recording or any other music that you had written that you had like attempted to put on record before that? Or
yeah, I actually had an album come out in 2015, but it's only available on CD right now.
Okay. All right. Deep cuts.
Yeah. But that was a really cool experience. I like did a Kickstarter for that, and worked with some local bluegrass musicians who I've known like almost, for most of my life. And that was a really cool experience. Like I'd never recorded music with people before, so of course I had done some like garage band stuff on my own, but I hadn't ever been really the one driving the session or anything like that. And during that experience with those musicians was just really cool. Like I didn't know that you could, if you like messed up a word, that you could just punch it in.
Yeah.
That you could re-record just that section of the song, and you didn't need to do an entire new take with everybody. I was like that green to recording back, in 2015.
Yeah.
So that was like a huge, moment to just even get to experience like, okay. And then I remember the engineer was like, okay, do you have any mix notes? And I was like, what's a mix note? Like this is the way we recorded it. This is how it sounds. Like it's done, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much now I'm like asking other people for mix notes, as a mixing engineer. So it's crazy what a difference 11 years, I guess, could make.
Would you go out and like play your tunes out and about like pretty frequently during that time?
Yeah, I think starting in, after that came out, I did actually some like album release tours, mostly kind of house concerts and stuff, but all over the US. Like I did a bunch of living room shows in people's houses, which was really cool to get to, go all over and basically see friends and family all over the country and get to have that experience, playing more. And then I was in a band here in Portland for several years with two other women called Five Letter Word. And that was a kind of like a folky, bluegrassy Americana trio. And we toured a bunch all over. We even got to a tour in Italy, which was amazing.
Ripping fiddle and that?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. And guitar too.
Is that kind of like where more opportunities branched out for you to play with other people on tour?
Yeah, that was a really cool experience because I was the soloist in that band, both on guitar and on fiddle. So I really had to like hone my instrumental chops and also just like, okay, now you're taking a solo on basically every song on one of these two instruments. So it's like, and you're, I mean, the bass player took a couple rip and bass solos, and the other person, Lee, did like a surprise tap dance solo on one of the songs, which was pretty awesome.
Sick.
So there was, and maybe some harmonica solos. So it wasn't soloing every single song, but basically I really had to like get over that fear of like, all right, now you just have to improvise a solo or compose one and then be able to nail it every time. So I really, honed my instrumental chops that way. And that was very helpful. And then I, started getting other opportunities. Like I got to play some shows with John Craigie on fiddle with him, and, sat in with like the Shook Twins and, more things like that kind of locally. And our band played at Northwest String Summit and at a bunch of other festivals around here. So that was just like a really cool way to get to meet so many other musicians in the scene. And so like, especially pre-pandemic, there was, this like whole, and while String Summit was still happening, there was like this really, resurgence and revival of like bluegrass, especially in the Northwest. So yeah, I met so many people that way. And people that I still now have, maybe I've worked with now, or now I'm producing their, music for them, or they're in a different band or have their own project now, but we connected back then. So it was definitely the first kind of experience that really showed me, like, as an adult in Portland, no longer, growing up here, but like as my own person as an adult, like how cool and collaborative the music scene and music scenes are here in town. Yeah. Which I know you know.
Yeah, it does feel, I don't know. It's really, it feels very welcoming, and like that people want to like work together on things, and everything is, I don't know, we're still kind of like, Portland still always has like this smaller city town vibe to me, where you're like constantly running into people on the street, and it's just like not as spread out as like in LA or in New York, where
like, well, don't you feel like if you go to a show, there's the chances are you'll probably run into people that you know?
Yeah, that's why I like I don't know.
It's like maybe some places it's like if you go to your local bar, you run into people, but here it's like, I'm sure there's that too, but it's also pretty much any show I go to, I know I'm going to run into somebody.
Yeah, for sure. It makes going to a show by myself really nice. Yeah. It's just like, all right, there's going to be at least one person. Yeah. And if that doesn't happen, then I feel like it's a weird thing almost,
Or you're just discovering something.
I guess so. Just really on the cusp,
cutting edge.
The cutting edge of something new.
Yeah. Tastemaker.
Did you ever experience any sort of like stage fright, or did those early fiddle competitions, did you feel pretty comfortable from the jump of performing in front of people?
I think my mom always said there was something about me that's like, I just loved like, getting my hair done in braids and putting on a dress and like going up there and like smiling,
You like the performance aspect of it.
Yeah. But I would say I definitely still had nerves, and I still do now to some extent performing, I've never had like really bad stage fright or anything like that. But in 2019, I was in the like singer-songwriter contest at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival. They have like a troubadour singer-songwriter contest, and so part of that was that they brought in like a performance coach, and they gave us all a workshop because we were performing songs in front of a smaller stage in front of judges and stuff. But then anyone who I don't know if it was the top 10 or top 5, but we all got to play a song on the main stage. So that was in front of 13,000 people.
Wow.
So, it was like broadcast out on the radio and everything. And so they were kind of like, okay, let's give you all just like a little bit of, tips. But one of the things they said I thought was really interesting was to find like whatever part in your body, if you're feeling nervous, like find what that is. And for me, it's like really, I have a lot of tension in my shoulders or my neck. So instead of saying like, I wish I didn't feel tense here, there's something that happens with between your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system. And if you can, instead of just trying to like not be tense, if you actually tense up consciously, then you can consciously release the tension. And so that's something that stuck with me. That was 2019. And that's stuck with me since then. So sometimes, you know, when I am in a performance setting, like I'll just remember that. But I also tell artists that in the studio all the time too, because in a different way, that's a high pressure performance setting. And, you know, people will come in and might sound so casual and, you know, easy breezy, but we turn the mic on and they're like, oh my God, this is my chance. This is my take. And how much is this per hour? You know, it's like, okay, let's just find that part, you know, and like lean into that rather than trying to like push against that. And then once you can kind of like lean into that, you can let it go. Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure to like have to kind of turn it on in the studio.
Yeah. And I mean, same with on stage too. But yeah, I think the more that you can just get to the point, you know, I'm at the point now, at least as an engineer and a producer, where I'm pretty comfortable in the studio. It definitely felt like that in the beginning though too, where you're like, okay, and I'm walking into the studio where, you know, I'm a freelancer and okay, how do I turn on the light? You know, what's the Wi-Fi? And okay, and this mic has phantom power and this one doesn't. And, you know, just there's so many things when you're first getting started. It's like this like mental checklist of like 100 things before you even, you know, get the artist there. So I feel like I'm past that at this point. But yeah, it's crazy. All these different settings where it does feel like the stakes are really high. But at the end of the day, it's music. So ideally, you know, at least now, you know, having been on both sides of it as an artist and now as a producer, it's like I just got to help create the space so that they don't have to think about a single thing, so they can just sing the song and do the art. You know? You
got to look like you know what you're doing.
You got to be comfortable. You got to be calm, cool, and collected, you know?
Yeah. I would imagine that's, I don't know, has its own variables when you're not working in the same studio all the time. And
I think I've gotten to the point now that, because I'm pretty much just working out of a couple places now, so I know all the gear really well. I know the places really well, so it's not as much of an issue. But definitely sometimes if you're working out of a studio where there are freelancers, who knows if someone accidentally, you know, changed a setting on something yesterday and you come in thinking it's going to be one way, you know, but I haven't had any, you know, major catastrophic things. Any issue I've ever had has been able to, you can still undo it. So haven't lost anything yet. So
tell me about making the Things to Burn record and how that shaped your life and your career path.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. Shane Leonard produced that. He's a good friend of mine. And we went to his mom's house in Wisconsin, and he basically convinced her to go out of town for a week. Thanks, Carol. And she like went to Arizona for the week, and we turned her living room into a recording studio. So his friend and engineer, Brian Joseph, basically packed up his whole studio from Eau Claire, put it in a U-Haul, and drove it to Merton, Wisconsin. And he brought his tape machine. He brought all his outboard gear. It was crazy. And I didn't know anything really about gear or recording at the time, so I didn't really realize how special it was that they did that for me.
Yeah.
Until like years later, like the amount of work that is to pack up your tape machine and your, like, I think it was either a 16 or 24 track. It was not like a cassette. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was giant. So yeah, we went to the house. We all stayed there. It was me, Shane, Brian, the engineer, and then Courtney Hartman, who's an incredible guitar player, songwriter, producer, and then Zachariah Hickman, who's just an amazing session musician, bassist. He's the music director in Josh Ritter's band, and also has been touring with Ray LaMontagne for a really long time as well. And he's produced music for a ton of other people. But so it was the four of them and me, and basically we just turned on all the mics and recorded live to tape, no click, no headphones in the living room. And for that being basically my second time recording, I also was like, now I'm like, wow, Shane really had faith in me as like a player to be able to do that and to be able to handle that. And it also at the same time, like that really leveled me up. You know, there's no replacing a guitar chord here or there if you mess up.
You're not piecing things together at all
in the same room. So it was during that experience where it was incredible. And I couldn't believe that these people were like, making this happen for me in such a cool, unique way. And also at the same time, I was totally overwhelmed and totally felt like out of my depths in some ways. And I didn't really know anything about microphones or gear, much less tape machines. Like I wasn't an engineer yet.
Yeah.
But I was just like sort of watching it all happen. And Brian, the engineer, was trying different things. And there was one song where he switched out my vocal mic between takes. And I literally just had this like aha light bulb moment when we listened back to the two takes, because the first take where we had one microphone, it sounded really pretty and bright on my vocals and clear and pristine. And then the second take, it sounded really, with the new mic, darker and gritty and kind of raw. And that was definitely the vibe that the song needed. And so I had always known like microphones were a technical instrument, but I had never given much thought or care to that, because I was like, it's just like, oh my gosh, these expensive things. It's just gear, it's like cars or something, fancy cars. Like I didn't realize that it had this really big creative and like even emotional component too. So in that moment, when I heard how different the song sounded on a different mic, I was like, oh my God, I need to care about this. I need to learn about this. So the rest of the week, I was like following Brian around, like, what was this mic? How did this work? And Courtney, I was like, okay, and what guitar pedals were you using? And they had all these fun things like this cigar box amp that we totally blew out and like, crunched out. So all of that was just so cool. And so then I got back home and I was like, I want to learn about engineering. So then I was like, are any women doing this? And so then I Googled like women producers or engineers.
Yeah.
And then I was confronted with the troubling statistic that less than 5% of audio engineers and producers are women or gender expansive people. And then I was like, hell no, not on my watch. And then
you're like, I'm gonna bump this up to 6%.
Let's go. Yeah. So then I basically just was like Googling to see if there was any classes I could take, and then I found that Clackamas Community College had a really good program in audio. So then I enrolled like for the next semester, and I was just working part-time, like teaching private music lessons, substitute teaching at elementary schools, and then touring with 5-letter words. So I was just kind of doing the piecemeal thing. And so I was able to take a couple classes at Clackamas, and I had a really, really incredible experience. One of the teachers there, Sasha Muller, he was a teacher there, and he was an engineer at Dead Aunt Thelma's studio. So he really saw something in me, probably because I raised my hand every 3 seconds and like took notes really meticulously.
Yeah, you're like absorbing
I was
everything.
like, I am not here for like a, humanities credit. I am here to learn everything there is to know about, audio engineering. So then he really took me under his wing and, got me started. He started just bringing me to sessions with him and allowing me to assist him. And the first session I assisted him on was at Supernatural Sound in Oregon City. And, he was like, all right, run Pro Tools. And I was like, there's an artist down there that is paying you by the hour. What do you mean I'm running Pro Tools? And basically he was just like, I was just sitting at the computer and he was just like barking key commands over my shoulder, like 3 spacebar, shift command, and I was just doing whatever he said. But that's how I learned all the shortcuts in Pro Tools.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You responded well.
To the barking.
That sort of like style of having to actually do the thing.
That's how you learn. You're either doing it or you're not. If you're just watching from afar, sure, there's things you can learn by being in the room. But the fact that he actually let me drive and like run the computer, or at least type whatever he was telling me to type, that's how I got that muscle memory.
Yeah.
and he would have me, running cables and everything. And that's something I'm really appreciative of in Portland, is like, I know in other places, maybe like LA, especially if you're going to get an internship or something in a studio, first couple of years, you're just taking out the trash and getting coffee, which I've done plenty of as well. But it wasn't ever only that, and it was like, that's, I'm doing that. He's doing that. Everybody else is also getting coffee and taking turns doing that. I'm not. But it's not just like me scrubbing the toilet while there's a session happening.
Not like the freshman or
there's not this like hazing culture here. And again, no shade on LA or Nashville. Like things happen in different ways in different places for different reasons. But I'm really glad that wasn't my experience, because I think that would have taken the wind out of my sails, especially like as someone who wasn't 18 at the time. I was like in my late 20s, you know? It's like, I already, have lived a lot of life here. Not that I've already had jobs where I've cleaned the toilet,
Yeah, for sure. So you started doing that stuff. You have that experience in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
As all these things are like firing in your brain, are you thinking, I want to learn this stuff so that I can facilitate sessions for other people and become a producer? Or are you more thinking of like, I want to learn these things so that I can better facilitate my own musical ideas?
Yeah, I think at the very beginning, I just was sort of feeling like I just wanted to learn anything I could about it, just hands down. And then a little deeper into it, I was like, okay, I want to be the person who's able to translate between the engineer and the artist what's going on, and so that there's like a little bit less of like a separation there.
Yeah.
But at that time, I wasn't thinking that I would ever like actually be an engineer, and then I became an engineer, and then spent years freelancing in studios and just picking up sessions and just working just as an engineer. And then I thought, okay, well, I know how to do this, and, I can put together bands and things like that, and can, facilitate sessions as a producer, but I'm never going to be the person who like makes a track, like, using samples and MIDI instruments and stuff like that. And then I'm doing that all day long. And I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to be a mix engineer. That sounds really hard. And now I'm like getting hired just to mix a record. So it's like every step of the way, I kind of was like, couldn't really necessarily imagine myself in these other roles, but it's kind of like, sometimes you just get flung into it, and if you say yes, then you go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And each of those is a totally different rabbit hole of, skills. Not, they do interlock, but I think I just kept kind of following where my curiosities led me, and I'm not sure at the beginning that I thought I would be doing this full time. But now I am.
Yeah.
So it's just been cool to see that progression and see all these different doors and windows kind of open for me to keep saying yes and to, just keep following that path.
Yeah. What I don't know, what about the studio space maybe do you like maybe more than being on stage and playing shows, whether it's like your own music or for other people?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely love, playing live, and I miss doing that more. But I think part of like having that, trying to have that as a career, the grind of that is so different, and it's so much harder in some ways. And I think it's more out of your control. And I think, I was touring probably like 100 plus shows, 100 plus days a year with the band I was in and with my own stuff for like 3 or 4 years there.
Yeah.
And just the trying to promote and selling tickets and all of that is just like, I don't find joy in that personally. Yeah. And some people, that's like, can become like a game and like a problem to solve, and like a, that's like interesting to them to figure out ways to advance in that way. But for me, it just felt like really exhausting to try and do that. So I still love playing and, play out occasionally and really enjoy that experience of being, in a room with people. But in terms of like following that path as my career. It just felt, I didn't feel wholehearted about that.
Yeah.
About like trying to grind or whatever for that.
Yeah. It's really like never just about making the music in that setting where, I don't know, maybe it is more of that when you're just making the music in the studio, whether you're like mixing or producing or engineering.
Yeah. And of course, you know, you're still, you know, working as a producer engineer, working with artists, working, you know, with clients, and it is a business too, but you're helping like, someone has a need. It's a service industry, you know, someone's looking for something and I might be the right person to help them with that. And if I'm not the right person, I often will refer people to other people. I don't want to, you know, I understand, again, as an artist too, having been on both sides of it, how important it is to work with a producer who gets your vision, who understands your music and your musical influences, who actually likes your music, you know, like there has to be, ideally, there really should be this kind of like Venn diagram where we're aiming for the middle of like things the artists like, things that I like. Let's just make stuff in the middle here, you know, that we're both like really bought in. So yeah, it feels different because it feels like, I'm able to offer something to people. And so once they're in the door, then we don't have to worry about anything else. Sure, we have to get the logistics out of the way of payment and scheduling and studio rentals and all that stuff. But once most of that's done before we even get in the studio. So ideally, when it goes really well, when we just get in the studio, we're just in this space of making stuff.
Yeah.
And I love making stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels really good. And it's like with a show, like the day of, you could still be worried about ticket sales or worried about, oh no, the opener's late or whatever, and I have to cover for this or that, or, you know, there's just like less of that. It's kind of, I like to get most of the work done ahead of time so that when we both get in there, we know what's going on. I always do pre-production with people too, so that we're not just coming in blind and not knowing at all what we're doing, unless that's the goal of the session, you know?
Yeah.
So at least we've had a couple conversations, and I actually started doing this thing a few years ago, which I had never seen done before. Was like, I kind of had this idea of like, okay, if you go to the doctors or you get a new therapist or you're, you know, working with someone in that kind of realm or physical therapy or something, like you have to fill out an intake form that says like, what's going on with you? Why are you coming in? What brings you in today? And maybe a little bit of your like medical history. So I started doing that with songwriters that I work with. So I send them an intake form, which basically it's like even after we've had coffee and decided to work together, you know, and I asked them about what have been some of your previous experiences in studios, what went well, what do you wish had gone differently? You know, is there anything you're excited about coming into this project? Is there anything you're worried about or nervous about? And just like a few other things, like what are you hoping that this project is going to be? Is this something that you're just doing for the art of it all? Is this something that's like you're really hoping this next single is going to like push your career forward?
Yeah.
Like what is the focus of this, and what hopes and dreams are you placing on this project so that I can, you know, be locked into that vision with it? Because it's never just about just the song, you know, it's about. And so the form is called The Process, which is like, what do you want to get from this?
Yeah.
Because if you don't like the way it felt when you were in the studio, you're never going to like the way the song sounds. So that's something I've like baked into most of the artists I work with, especially if I'm working with someone for the first time. It's like, I just need to know, like, when you're walking into this room, what are you bringing with you?
Yeah.
And every time, sometimes I'm like, oh man, do I really need to send this out? Like, we've had coffee or I know them or whatever. Every single time I feel that way and I send it out, I learn something really important that they've said in there that I'm like, I'm so glad I asked that.
Yeah. Help you inform like what sort of environment you need to facilitate for them to like get what they want out of the experience. Yeah.
And even things like I always ask, what time of day do you have the most energy? What time of day do you like working? And what time of day do you like singing best? Because some people like singing at 10 p.m. Some people like singing, you know, in the afternoon. Some people like their voice best in the morning. And it's like, you can't, you'll miss so much if you just try to fit it into like any sort of regular schedule, you know? So the more you know.
What were your first opportunities to produce for others, and like what did those sessions feel like for you?
You know, there was this really cool opportunity I had, I think back in it was, I think, maybe 2019. I don't even know. Maybe I'd taken like one semester of classes at Clackamas and audio classes. I didn't know much, but I somehow got to produce an entire record for my friend Marilyn Jordan. She's a great songwriter who lives down in Corvallis. And I wasn't engineering. So we had my friend Bart Budwig. You know Bart?
Shout out Bart. I just got to do a couple weeks on the road with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible. Who were you guys out with?
I did this Blind Pilot John Craigie run of shows for a couple weeks.
And Bart was
front of house for Craigie.
Oh my God, so good.
Bart, dude.
Incredible guy. Shout out Bart.
One of one.
One of one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So basically Marilyn, I produced, but I wasn't doing any engineering. So Bart was engineering.
Yeah.
So I put together the band, which was me and Nico Slice from Shook Twins and John Craigie.
Yeah.
So it was me and Nico, and then Bart played, I think, maybe some trumpet on some stuff, and then Nevada, who also, you know Nevada too.
He's also on that tour. Nevada's big homie, and I know that Bart was like a big influence on Nevada going to engineering school and like getting into the thing.
Nevada had just finished there, and he was doing his internship with Bart.
Okay.
Or his like capstone or something with Bart. So he was like living at the OK Theater with Bart out in Enterprise. And so me and Marilyn came out, and Nico, and I think we did like 8 or 10 songs, something like that. And basically like I just would like wake up every day and then walk across the street where there was like a little park with a swing set, and I would like listen to her voice memos or demos, and then I would just like have an idea come to me, and then we would come back. It was very Rick Rubin. I have no technical abilities.
You're allowed to say that anymore.
Okay, delete that.
Doesn't make you cool anymore.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
But at the time, I had almost no technical abilities.
Yeah,
which is one of his famous quotes.
Like I hear this. This is my idea. Like
I was like, kind of just like sort of band leader, music director of that.
Right.
But Bart was doing all the technical engineering, and it was amazing. Like just getting to come up with ideas for arrangements, and Marilyn was so trusting to just allow me to do that, and so between me, her, Nico, and then a little bit of Bart, a little bit of Nevada, I think he played some drums, we made a record in like less than a week, and that was my first experience ever producing, and it was incredible. And then as I like went to school and took more classes, then I can't really remember what my next project was after that, but I sort of just hit the ground running. Yeah. Matt Greco at the Rye Room, he mentored me a ton. I'm so grateful for that experience. And then after even just like a few months of kind of interning and mentoring with him over there, I got the keys. He gave me the keys. He's like, all right, get some clients, and that was February 2020. I was like, I got a new career. I got a new life. And then March 2020, it was like, and we're done. Yeah. I was a little bump in the road, but so it took a few years to kind of come back after all that. Cause it was like, what's the most dangerous thing you could do? Being indoors singing with other people. So had some setbacks, but made it out.
Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned like listening to those Chicks albums and like finding out that different songwriter kind of behind a lot of that, like, and now you're kind of somewhat in that position of being that person, or like kind of making music in that way, or like in that realm of things. Like, do you think that like that curiosity stuck with you in any way of like, I wonder if I could like write songs for these like very specific things, or like not necessarily for my own records, but like to end up in TV or film, or like maybe just helping someone else write a song?
Yeah. I think I've just always just loved making music, and so I've just like kind of jumped at any opportunity I could find. And I also just am someone who just loves learning. So I'm always like wanting to know. I'm just curious about something. I'm like, I bet I could figure that out,
Yeah.
So
It seems like that.
yeah,
That's
all these
awesome.
different paths, but it's all just comes down to, music and at the end. But I think that just opened up my eyes to like songwriting, I guess, and then like listening to Patty Griffin's discography and getting inspired by her was just, and then learned so much about guitar from just trying to learn her songs because she plays a lot in drop D. So that was like opened up a whole new world, But I think, I don't even really remember where the first spark of, I guess actually during the pandemic, right when the first season of Love is Blind came out. Now they got Billie Eilish on Love is Blind, music. But season 1, it was like someone's sitting on a couch and their head is in their hands. And then the song is like, head in my hands.
Just very on the nose.
You got me sitting down crying. It was very much like, someone walking out the door, and then the lyrics on the screen are like, walking out the door away from you, And I was like, I could do that,
And then you did.
Yeah. Many years later. But that was like the first moment I was like, that sounds so fun. For some reason, I was like, I bet I could do that. And then, basically I met this person who you almost shared a studio with for a minute, Michelle Richards.
Oh, yeah,
my
for
friend.
sure.
Yeah, I met her, and she's a full-time composer for TV and film. So like she composes, for full films and documentaries and things like that, but like also is
a lot of the Bravo stuff.
Yeah, has written a ton for TV, and so she took me under her wing. There's all these people that I like owe so much gratitude to for showing me, teaching me and showing me what's possible. And so we did some writing together. I played guitar on like this like horror, like sexy horror film that she was scoring, and it was so interesting to be playing along with the film without any music. I was like, this isn't scary at all. And so then it's like, okay, but I have to make it scary with my Telecaster.
Yeah.
But obviously so much of that was the like sound design that she was doing in the composition. But that was a cool experience. And then after that, she just connected me with several of the different libraries that she had been writing for and was like, all right, here you go. And suddenly I'm on like the phone with the CEO of a music library. And he's like, all right, well, we got this TV show called The Wranglers that we're doing for the CW. And, we need all these like tension cues and drama cues, but with Americana instruments. Can you do it? And I was like, put me in, coach,
like,
have banjo.
This is all me. Yeah.
Will play, So that was how I first got started a couple summers ago, was like writing like 1.5 minute instrumental background cues for The Wranglers.
Not necessarily songs, like just like
songs
these writing for these very specific moments.
Mm-hmm. In TV. So it was like tension. And so all of that was about like capturing an emotion. And then building on that emotion for 1.5 minutes, but using these, Americana instruments for this specific show.
Would you just kind of have like a written prompt versus like you getting to actually see what the scene was like?
Not like 80% was just that. They're like, we need tension cues, we need like, drama cues, we need comedy cues, which are like those like something goes wrong and they're like ding 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 ding, whatever. It's like, oh, what a klutz, those kind of things. There's specific kind of sections that any of these shows use, or categories rather than sections, categories. And then it's about using the right instruments. So for like, the Bravo shows, it's maybe more like pop instruments or, synths and things like that, or more kind of like hip hop influenced. And then
I watch Vanderpump.
Yeah, exactly. She's done so much for Vanderpump.
That's
yeah,
so
Michelle
sick.
has.
I'm actually like really deep into Vanderpump right now. Someone put me on, and
so
like
this.
I'm really cruising through it like real heavy right now. So I'm probably mostly just like listening to Michelle's music.
Real Vanderpump summer for you. Yeah.
Yes,
love that
absolutely.
For you. Yes, we all have to have our our moments. But there was a couple scenes that they needed something specific, so they asked me to score live to picture. And I'd never done that before. And it was another thing. I was like, okay, don't know how to do this. I'm going to figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
You know? So that was like, okay, someone's walking away and then like the scene cuts. And when the scene cuts, there needs to be a change in the music. And it's not to a click because it's to the scene and it's to where the edits are in there.
Yeah.
And so learning about how to do that was super informative. And so I was doing more and more of that. And then I was sort of just feeling like, but I'm like where I like live and thrive and love is songs and songwriting. So then I was kind of like, okay, how can I kind of like marry these two things together of like, now I know, you know, the basis of how to create emotion with a track and how to give editors what they need, because they need specific things. They need moments that they can cut at, you know, and they also need, there's a lot of different things that editors need to make something work. You can't just give them my album that was like live to tape with no click and be like, here's for your show. It's like, no, that doesn't work, you know? So I had that. And then I was like, I just want to write these songs. So a friend of a friend had gotten a song on Grey's Anatomy. And, you know, that's always been an iconic show for like music. I mean, they're about, you know, they finished 22 seasons and they've like, just think of the music back, like, you know, when it was first coming out, I feel like, you know, The Fray, How to Save a Life, like there was just so many iconic songs, I feel like, from that show. And when I started listening to the soundtrack of the past couple seasons, I really liked the music. And I was like, I think I could, like, that's in my wheelhouse. It's this emotionally driven music that comes from like, feels like it's capturing a real emotion, comes from a real place. But it's like maybe like a little bit bigger than you might just put on maybe, you know, your normal singer-songwriter album, because it really has to build to support the really high stakes stuff that's happening on screen. And so kind of with that in mind, I, you know, asked my friend Tyler, I was like, do you want to write some songs together and then, you know, see where they could go? And so we wrote quite a few songs together. We've written quite a few songs together at this point, but at that point we wrote a song called Stars Fade Out. And he had a sync agent at the time, who then ended up signing me after that, which was awesome. And they pitched it to Grey's Anatomy, and it got on season 22.
Were you a fan of the show at all?
I've dabbled in and out. The problem is I can't like watch anything with blood and guts.
Oh, okay, great.
So I just have to like skip over a lot of it. Or I will watch, but I'll just have to go like this when those scenes are, because they get really graphic in the like surgery scenes. You know, I'm like, this is people. I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to that stuff. So I'm not as much of a Grey's head as I could be because of that reason. But my mom is a huge fan. My mom's watched every single episode. And that was another reason, because my mom's always been like, you could have your song in there. I'm like, Mom, you know, it's just like, it's your mom just gassing you up. It's like, come on, Mom. Yeah. But, you know, she was right. She had her eye. Yeah. She had her finger on the pulse of the music, you know.
And whether like you're a huge fan, like, you know, like where that stands in the like the zeitgeist of TV, you know, and like you were saying, just like kind of that iconic list of songs that have been in the show.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing too, of just literally listening to even just the past couple seasons. I was like, I love this music. I found so many artists that I hadn't heard of before that I've started following too. I just really legitimately really connected with the music that they were playing in the show. And so that then inspired me to just write things in sort of like a similar vibe, I guess. Yeah. And it wasn't like, okay, this is, you know, for Grey's Anatomy specifically. It's like for anything. It's just a song, but it was like definitely influenced and inspired by the vibes that I had, you know, heard in that show, versus something like you know, Vanderpump or something. Like those songs are like not exactly in my wheelhouse, you know, or things with like trap beats aren't like super in my wheelhouse. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, these emotionally driven songs with like acoustic guitar and piano. Yeah, I want to write that stuff. Yeah. So that's been really fun, like writing in that kind of world. And then, who knows what they'll get pitched to. They go to my agents and they just got a cut on in Supergirl with an artist. It was her name's Kelty. She's someone I'm working with right now, but she got a cover of Jimmy Eat World, The Middle.
Oh yeah,
And Supergirl.
Yes.
So
I
yeah.
have heard about this song.
Yeah, totally. It was a big moment in the film. So so now we're working together on a song that's hopefully I'm going to finish up that mix today, send it
Cool.
out, and who knows what'll happen, if it'll just be something she releases on her own or if it'll get, placement somewhere. You never know, but it's just fun writing stuff and making stuff.
Yeah. Does that
Can't
feel
beat
like
that.
it operates in like a much different part of your brain than when you're just writing songs for yourself or like music you're trying to put out?
Yeah, I think, right when I first started doing it, I was kind of feeling like there had to be this big separation between like the music that I'm writing for myself is under my name and it comes from this place, and this music that I'm writing for other people or potentially for film or TV has to come from this different place. But the more that I've kind of realized what works is music that comes from a real place and is about emotion. So, but there is also this aspect to writing for sync, writing for picture is like, it can't be too specific generally. So, if you're like writing about, using someone's name or the name of a town or, things like that, the more specific it gets, the harder it is to place under a scene. But there are certain things that are true to me as a person and as an artist that I can translate that could be a little bit more general, but are still real. And for me, that's emotions. So, with Stars Fade Out that I wrote with Tyler, we were kind of both coming at it with a different idea of what the song was about, but we both still connected to that emotion of it. And it sort of kind of became about like loss or like someone sticking with you after loss. Or after, a crisis or something like that. And then the funny thing was in the scene that they used it for, it was like this dramatic montage, but part of the montage was there's this kid who got in a hobby horsing accident. Are you familiar with hobby horsing?
Not really.
Do you know what those like stick pony toys are?
Oh yeah.
It's that, but it's really serious. It's really serious, Dan. So I would hate to offend the hobby horse community. I don't want to speak on something I'm not super well versed on, but they use those and then they're doing like really intense athleticism.
Okay.
Like high jumps over things as you would do with a horse. But they're or like in track meets and stuff too. And they're wearing like dressage and stuff. Yeah, it's a thing. It's really, I've seen a lot of it on like Instagram and TikTok too. Anyway, so in the scene, it was like, no more hobby horsing for a while, kid. And we're like, when the stars fade out,
Oh
we're
my
like the
God.
song that we're like, it's about mental health crisis. It's about, finding the one person who will stick with you when you think that like everything is, and it's like, no more hobby horsing for a while. Which is just
That's
so funny. It's like, you
amazing.
never know what things are going to get used, for, but it was a cool experience seeing that. We got, my girlfriend Lisa, we got like a cable box just so that we could watch it live.
That's amazing.
You can just go to Best Buy and get a cable box for like $10 or $15 apparently.
Okay.
Plug it into your Roku or
Oh, yeah,
TV
yeah,
or whatever, and
for
then
sure.
you can watch live.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
You can still watch live TV.
You sure can. It's incredible. It's an incredible thing.
The more you know.
That's so fun that you got to see it happen live.
Yeah.
Stare the world down, sing without a sound. What's lost inside you now will soon be found. I will be the light in your darkest hour. You will be the fire when the stars fade out. When the stars fade out.
So that was cool. So yeah, just love writing songs. So
Yeah. And you feel like you also just like respond pretty well to prompts and things like that, like are good for your creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I think constraints are always helpful. you know? So having some sort of, whether it's like sort of like a genre or a musical prompt or like an emotion prompt or writing to picture or anything, like the Love is Blind one was actually a prompt for Love is Blind from a library I worked with, but it wasn't anything super specific. They were like, we need emotional breakup songs. I was like, I can write an emotional breakup song. I've been writing emotional breakup songs my whole life. The difference was that this emotional breakup song I wrote for Love is Blind wasn't about a real breakup I had experienced, but I wrote it from the perspective of like the feelings that you feel in that moment.
Yeah.
So that I think is the difference between usually when I'm writing songs sort of for myself or for my own experience, it's about like a real exact event or person that inspired that song. Whereas this is about like real emotions I've felt, but is not necessarily about a specific person or event.
Yeah. And is part of your homework to inform like how you should write, watching the show a bit, just to see how like music typically gets placed?
Yeah, for sure. And I think for anyone, like any goal you're going after, you have to see what has worked so you're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
And I think especially with getting more into like sync, you have to know, it's not just is your song good or not. You have to know if it's going to be useful to an editor. So learning about the ways that they use it. And also it's really fascinating to see in both those instances, the way that they cut the song, because they didn't use the full 3.5 minutes or whatever. So what sections of the song did they use? And they spliced part of the first verse with chorus 3. And then, like watching that was really informative too, to see, okay, where are the points in the song that I am intentionally leaving space that if they needed to cut something, they could cut it here without it like having a reverb tail forever that, can't be reined back. So that's what I first learned more about when I was doing the background instrumentals for the reality TV, was like learning a little bit more about what the editor wants, but definitely watching TV. Yeah, you got to know how it's going to get used.
Yeah.
For sure. And then I just close my eyes over the blood scenes.
So are you still using the moniker of Saint Somewhere for that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like touched on maybe that separation in some way of like the music that you're writing for yourself. Why have the moniker? Like what feels good about maybe separating that from like the music you put out last year or the music that you're going to put out soon under Clara Baker?
Yeah. I think there's something just really freeing about having like a different like moniker or band name or something like that, and being able to have it just be about music. With me, it's like I can get so in my head of like, who am I? It's so serious. Not like
such an artist, Clara.
I know that's the problem. But it's like, who am I? And is this representing who I am as a person and as a family member and as a partner and and it's like, it's just I'm just so in my head about things. So being able to have, I think, just like a moniker or like a band name or a project that's just about music just feels so freeing. And I feel like I actually can take more creative risks and try more things, not having it under my own name. It's not like it's nothing I'm trying to run or hide from at all.
It's just not like you're embarrassed about
no.
It's like, oh, that's actually really sick that you made this music for TV and it got into TV.
Yeah, and I'll be releasing a bunch of music, either an EP or a whole album within the next year, probably, for Saint Somewhere. Whether or not those songs get placed on TV doesn't matter. I'll be releasing that because I've written a bunch of music for that project I'm super excited about, and it just like lives in a different kind of sonic world. So yeah, it's just like I've never really tried that, to like really, and also come up with like a visual identity for things either. But did some photo shoots, some moody coast photo shoots for Saint Somewhere,
cool.
and have a bunch of cool stuff for that. So it just feels like a fun art project, both like musically and also just kind of like creating a bit of like a persona. But yeah, I'm not so deep in it. I'm not, doing interviews as Saint Somewhere or something like that.
Oh no, I'm putting this episode out actually as Saint Somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I'm not wearing my right
and there will be no like parentheses
that.
like Clara Baker, none of that.
Who is Clara Baker? Yeah, well.
This is episode 478 with Saint Somewhere, guys. It's been really great.
Featuring Clara Baker.
Yeah, featuring Clara Baker. Hell yeah.
Oh my God.
it seems like being goal oriented has been important to your process. Does that feel accurate?
Yeah.
And you even mentioned that, like, with those, that was kind of like the benefit of those fiddle competitions early on, is that you had something that you were like working towards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially with music or any kind of creative pursuit, it can be hard to see when you've made progress. You know, you don't always necessarily like notice, you know, just one day B minor is suddenly you're able to play it. You're able to play the bar chord, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so much you don't always notice when you're making progress. So I think setting goals can be really helpful for that, to then look back on, like, and be able to see, okay, I actually have accomplished a lot, or, you know, I did make progress. And yeah, especially when, you know, in an industry like this where there are so many places where there like might be gatekeepers, or, you know, hard to break into certain, you know, things, any win is a win that you should be able to recognize. So I think setting goals can help you then retrospectively like feel like you're making progress.
As far as gatekeeping, you sometimes will like put these videos out on Instagram of like how you did something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're doing that to, you know, not be a gatekeeper, or do you just enjoy kind of like sharing the knowledge of like, you can do this too, you know?
I think it's kind of fun. It's just like random things that I find interesting throughout the process of producing usually. And I think it's also just a way to, you know, remind people, oh, hey, I'm out here as a producer, you know, put it in their head to remind them they can call me if they need somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
And then,
but I do think it's important, obviously, to, you know, share knowledge. And I will say, I just had someone text me yesterday and say, what was that video you made about the plugin that gets rid of the mouth sounds? And I was like, Isotope RX mouth declick, and use it in Audio Suite and Pro Tools. Don't put it as an insert because you'll have latency. And she was like, thank you so much.
Hell yeah.
So, you know, I think it is. Yeah, you're right. It is helping. No gatekeeping.
Yeah.
With
I hope you're getting that sponsorship money from them.
Isotope.
Where
Call
you
me.
at? Yeah. Call Saint somewhere.
No. Saint somewhere is just like off on a beach somewhere, like singing. Clara Baker will be. No.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Where do you think your want to just like keep learning things comes from? Like, I know you just did this masterclass thing out in Paris, which seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned that it was like really intense.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think it's rad that you're like, seems like you're very accomplished at what you've been doing, and things are like really working for you.
Thanks.
But there's not like this complacency of like, I've done it. Like, I know how to get songs on TV, or I've made songs that have gotten on TV, and it seems like you're really busy with a list of clients, and you're kind of like doing all of these different things, but there's this desire to want to improve and get better at your craft still, even though you've you're like, no, I haven't arrived yet necessarily, you know?
I think, you know, when I look at people that I really respect and admire, they haven't arrived yet, you know, and they might be in their 70s. So this masterclass was with Chad Blake, who's an absolutely legendary mixing engineer. And I believe he's in his 70s, and he's, you know, still working, and he's still learning things every day. And there's just something about like I said earlier, about like the process. It's not just the product that I like about any of these things. It's about the process. And I think I'm someone who likes learning. Like, one of my hobbies is learning. It doesn't necessarily matter what that thing is.
Yeah.
But it's nice when it can be part of your career, you know, to be moving forward in that. But I'm also really have been into refinishing furniture over the years. So I actually have a secret YouTube channel.
Oh, yes, dude.
It's not secret. It has 13,000 subscribers.
Whoa. Is that under your name?
No, it's No Can Do, KNOW.
Hell yeah, this episode's going to be
There's
titled
so many
No
links.
Can Do.
No.
Yes. Yes. I'm here with the host of No Can Do.
Well, the thing is, like, that was kind of a pandemic hyperfixation, is that I
Okay.
got really into learning how to refinish furniture and learning how to have a successful YouTube channel. Those were like two separate things that I combined. But I haven't made a new video in like 4 or 5 years. I just abandoned my 13,000 subscribers. I'm
Like,
sorry,
where
you guys.
did she
I'm
go?
so sorry.
She's too busy making music for TV.
But there is something about that was really important to me at that time. I actually wasn't making a whole lot of music during the pandemic. It was so important to me to be a beginner at something again. I was a complete beginner at refinishing furniture. I barely knew how to use sandpaper.
Yeah.
And I was a complete beginner at YouTube. I'd never done anything like that. So to be able to be a beginner at two things again, I was starting to, after touring so much, I was a little burnt out. And just with the pandemic, and the state of music, it just really took the wind out of my sails and frightened me for my health and my life, and for everybody going through that. So it's just fun to like have a new creative hobby and practice and just be new at something again. And I think there's this temptation within like, any career you have, there's this temptation to like front like you're an expert, and there are some things that I have expertise on, and those are things I'm happy to share, or like tips or things I learned, happy to share. But I think it's so important to have humility and always be learning. And so as I keep growing, then I can keep, providing value for the artists that I work with. And I haven't gotten there yet. I'll listen to things I mixed. There was something I mixed for Saint Somewhere like a year ago, and I listened to it just recently, and I was like, oh man, I could mix that so much better right now. And there is this kind of aspect to anything where it could never be done. You have to also get really good at just finishing things and stopping and finding the place to stop. But I just like learning. And also from like a competition standpoint, if you stop learning, everyone else around you isn't going to stop, you know? And at the same time that, Portland is such like a creative and inspiring place. It's not an industry hub like LA or Nashville. And so if I think about artists that I want to work with, maybe who live in other cities outside of Portland too, like I have to also remain competitive with my skills, to it's not just, and not that it's about competition, but like, I just mean competitive in terms of like being up to snuff of like what the quality standards are.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to remain relevant?
Yeah.
Like, or if you want to keep making records in 20 years for a new artist, like you do need to be like aware of like how things have progressed within the technology and the industry.
For sure. Yeah. So I think that's part of it too. And it's also just, mentorship's a huge thing. And I'm never too, I'm literally just going to fire off a text when we leave to ask someone to listen to a mix I just did and be like, hey, any notes on this? Like one of my mentors, because again, like things can only get better and improve from doing that. So I don't feel like it's not worth it to just feel like you've arrived. Yeah. I just haven't, I'm confident with what I can offer with people, and like I feel really proud of what I've accomplished, but I know that there's still so much more that I can learn and places I can grow, and I just want to keep doing that.
Also, it just seems like you've had like a lot of these moments where you've just like been put in a situation you're like, I've never done this before, but I can figure it out. And I would imagine even doing something like refurbishing furniture and starting something new, like that like kind of builds confidence to be like, I had no idea how to do this thing
and I figured it out,
but I put work in and these are the results. Or like I read that you like gardening, and like that's something where you really get to see like you're gonna fuck things up, but hopefully you're gonna like understand how you messed things up, and then you literally get to like watch this thing grow.
And there is something about, and that was like both with gardening and refinishing furniture, was sometimes within the music industry too, you plant these seeds, metaphor.
Yeah.
And you don't get to see them grow until like months or years later. Like even for people who are, releasing or recording and releasing music, you might not put out an album until a year after you recorded it, whereas like right in the moment, this table was destroyed and now it looks brand new.
Yeah.
Like 4 days later, or with it growing stuff, it's like there was just dirt here and now I'm making a salad from the garden.
Yeah.
It's so tangible. I feel like I have to have that too with some of the intangibles of like how long things can sometimes take
For sure.
with music.
Yeah.
So, and just like literally hands-on and not behind a screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, I don't know, I feel like sports can sometimes be like a good teacher of
Yeah.
that. Like
because you're a big hockey guy, right?
yeah. And I just remember talking to my cousin one time about, he was just really disciplined about, the time that he would put into practicing drums and like learning new, techniques and still like working out of like a workbook, even being like a monster musician, still like learning new things. And he was just like, at an early age from playing sports, I like really learned that like if I worked on my throwing technique, I could like see the improvement like pretty quickly, and yeah, those things are like kind of those tangible things. It's just like, yeah, if like I work on my crossover skating a couple of times a week, like it's going to be better in the game.
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
I remember I struggled like heavy, like learning guitar. I never thought I was going to be able to like make my hands make the shape. And then I started doing it a few times a week and I was just like, oh no, I can do it.
Yeah.
Like you just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like get the reps in. So,
and you have to find those things that for you, it's worth it to do the reps. It's like,
yes,
it's,
yes.
and for whatever reason, maybe it's hockey, maybe it's guitar, whatever it is. It's like you have to find what those things are that inspire you and make you want to keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about like songwriting now? Like you're I know you just like recorded some songs of your own that you plan to put out. I just imagine that your whole lens for it is so much different than maybe like 2019 when you went in to make that record. You have so much knowledge that you're coming into the thing with now.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I mean, I think I don't know how to answer how do I think about songwriting now, because I kind of am just doing it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't have too much time to overthink it, I suppose. But recording, I do have 4 songs that I recorded with Shane, again, who I recorded with in 2019, cool. Very full circle. And we recorded here in Portland at Flora, at Tucker Martin's studio.
Sweet.
And Larry Crane from Tape Op came in and engineered for a day because we recorded basics live to tape. And it was just this really cool experience of like then working with Shane again after like my first experience working with him being I didn't even know anything about mics to then actually this week that I worked with Shane, we had 6 different artists this week before my session. And so people applied to work with him from all over the country, and they flew into Portland and each cut one song live to tape with Shane and a band. So I was in engineering to tape, and Shane was playing drums and producing. And so like the first 4 days of the session was that we were I was engineering for other people and assisting for Shane. And then the last 3 days of the session was me and then back in the songwriter seat. And there was a few moments where I was in the booth and I was like, no. Channel 28 is actually plugged into this thing and the mic. I was saying these engineering things, But Shane was like, okay, are you sure you don't want to just cut vocals at home? You could probably do it better, with your process, not better, but just for your own headspace.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm at the studio. You're producing, we're going to do vocals here, So it's funny that now I do have a bit of this engineering brain.
You can speak to him in a much different way than you could have.
And I was comping some of my own vocals, but then on some songs I had him comp them because I was overthinking it,
Yeah.
So, and he's also an incredible songwriter. So it's cool to have both have those sides of ourselves when we're working together, because we can kind of talk on both of those levels, But yeah, the interesting thing about that project is he produced and engineered for me, but then I wanted to mix it. And so, unfortunately, because I'm mixing it, it has taken really low priority in the mixing that I am doing. So I haven't gotten around to mixing it yet. But when I was just in Paris for that mixing masterclass with Chad Blake, we each had to bring in a song that we had mixed for mixed feedback from him. So I brought in one of those songs from the session that I did with Shane and Larry and everybody. And I did like a rough mix of it and brought it in. And then Chad gave feedback on it and then spent a couple hours putting in his mix template and did like a rough mix of it too. And then we got to like A/B them, and it was a really cool experience to be like, okay, here's what Chad with 50 years of mixing experience would do, and here's what I did. And it was like a once in a lifetime opportunity to hear that kind of feedback from someone who's like who I respect so much,
Very cool.
Yeah. So now I just have to do it. Not this week.
Well, you're a badass, Clara.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I've had you on my list of people I wanted to do this show for a really long time.
I know. I'm a listener, so happy I get to be in here.
This is a very wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
It's a fun way to get to know your backstory a little bit more.
Yeah. And I want to know what's next on your list for Tuna Boy reviews.
Oh, wow. There's still a lot in Portland that I still need to get to. You ever been to Goose Hollow?
No. I mean, I know the neighborhood, or is there a specific?
There's a place there. Is it the Goose Hollow? I don't know if it's tavern. I think it's just called Goose Hollow, actually, maybe. But
gotta check.
That's kind of like a legendary place. I've been there a lot but never had the tuna. I don't know what else is on the list. There's still quite a few to work through.
And when you're on tour,
always trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, I hit up a place in Woodstock the other day.
New York.
Yeah.
Not Southeast Portland.
Bread Alone. I did that one. That was cool. It's kind of like a really fun tour thing.
That's a fun side quest.
It is, because it used to just be I want to go see record stores.
Yeah.
And that's actually not great, because I don't want to travel around with records. Vinyl, so I don't buy records anyways. I just kind of go in and unless I see something crazy in there. But now it's all right, where's the best tuna sandwiches in this city?
But are you bringing them in the van?
No. I do this on my own. I try. I try to.
Because
I'm not bringing a tuna sandwich in the van.
Hard-boiled eggs and bananas, no in the van,
Noah Gunderson, who I tour with often, has a beef jerky ban.
Oh, beef jerky ban.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. He had somebody, I think his brother Johnny, brought beef jerky into the van one time, and it was a very stinky one. And there's just a policy that you
gotta know your limits.
Yes. So
fair enough.
But Tuna Boy, we're out here. We're trying to do things. We're trying
to keep my eyes out.
Trying to cover the tuna sandwich of
North America.
Yeah, that's really my big goals.
Yeah.
If there's a goal.
And you have to have goals.
Yes. If I've learned anything from you during this conversation, Clara, it seems like goals have really worked out for you. So I'm going to use that as an inspiration.
I love it.
Yeah. You feel good about this?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah.
Thanks for doing it. It was very fun. I want to play the episode out with Old Mountains.
Oh,
it's the last track on your Things to Burn record.
That was me and Zach Hickman sitting at the dining room table with a microphone in between us, recording us in just right there.
Very
I think
cool.
on figure 8 mic.
It's rad that whole experience sparked and shaped so much of your life.
Yeah.
So
pretty grateful for that.
I'll put all the links in the episode notes so people can keep up with Clara Baker, Saint Somewhere, whatever you're refurbishing. I'll be doing the deep dive.
You're gonna have to watch it back to remember what that was.
Furniture, yes.
Redacted.
Yes. I'll definitely be checking that out. And Clara, we end every episode of the podcast with the guest saying the tagline for the show, which is, "It's a program." It means nothing. It's just the way my grandfather says the word program. So If we could get the Clara Baker, it's a program. We can properly end this thing. It's the one time I'll ask you to look into this camera that's sitting on the desk.
It's a program.
She nailed it, everybody. That's Clara. Check out all of her music. There's a couple like recent singles from last year that she put out that are like some bangers, and maybe rewatch some Grey's Anatomy, see where her songs fall into place. Maybe you're a Love Is Blind person. Maybe you're into that. Maybe there will just be much more to come, but lovely chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
That's it. We're playing it out with Old Mountains, and that's the Jelly Jams, and we'll catch you on the flip side, Portland, or wherever you are listening from. We did it!
Yeah.
Great job.
How deep is your love?
That was so good.
How big is your
Something like that.
ocean?
Sounds later.
Yeah.
How often does your well run dry when you need a